The government method of managing the economy. The creation of the Fed was designed to prevent the ups and downs of inflation and depression and intermittent panics. The design was flawed from the beginning, and you can examine history to see why. The only action the Fed can apply to a tight credit market is to make credit available. The only action that the Fed can apply to a loose credit market is to tighten it. Now, you would think that with this kind of monetary power, you could control the market. But this is not the case. The market has credit requirements that respond to the millions of credit seekers with credit providers who loan on the basis of staying in business. Thus, the first inclination by a lender is to evaluate the borrower and make a loan based on his ability to repay, his collateral, and his reputation. This evaluation process is what reduces the risk the lender is willing to take. The government can upset this process by insisting the lender reduce his standards. In a move to make loans available to more people, which appeals to more voters, the government makes guarantees that it will pay off the loans if they fail. This intervention by the government makes lenders into order takers, whose judgment of character and evaluation of borrowers' ability and willingness to pay is no longer necessary. This is how bad loans get on the books in proportions that invite lending institutions' failures. When the government audits the books of institutions making these bad loans, they pronounce them insolvent and the banks fail. Or if the government makes good the bad loans, the deficit increases and the national debt grows. Either way, the government pays for that which it cannot afford. This is how debt grows, and with debt, the need for more money that is not in the tax coffers. Then the money must come from either more borrowing or printing. This is what the government does when the conditions they created create market turmoil. Don't forget, the government is a big borrower. If the government tries to dry up credit, and there is a greater demand for credit that cannot be satisfied, the conditions we see today erupt. So to resolve this poor estimate of market conditions and the government distortions, the government must loosen credit. But by how much? Too much and the fire of inflation reignites. Too little and the danger of economic collapse looms. Collapse means that a large amount of business activity is slowed or stopped by the unavailability of credit. This is the situation we are seeing today and why we are seeing frantic governments trying to figure out how to balance the demand for credit with the supply they can dole out without pushing the button for too much inflation. Couple this with the desire to save huge institutions with a large payroll of voters, and the government has created a montage of chaos that is not fixable with the means it employs. We need to have the market rule. The market will respond to the right amount of lending and borrowing. It will not respond favorably to distortion that makes shortages of funds and poor lending risks dominant. If more credit is required in a free market, lenders make it available based on their ability to do so, not on just printing worthless money. The government could recognize this phenomena, but it would also have to recognize that the distortion that upsets the market comes from its hand. Government officials would rather let the economy fail completely than step up to the plate and recognize their role in the distortion of the market. They ask for sacrifice, but they never give up any of their power. The notion that a different politician will make appropriate changes is naive. The trend has been centuries old, and the politicians know that they can obfuscate and placate and promise, and the voters will live on the hope of tomorrow that never comes. It will take a different type of voter than the world has ever seen or may never see to reject the notion of political omnipotence. A voter who questions the politicians' ability to make things happen by laws and restrictions that end up restricting the people who can make things happen. The answers are possible. The only question is of the courage and the will to stand firm.